I'll take it. Phil Spencer, speaking of members of the Microsoft tribe,
Okay.
Was speaking at the GeekWire Summit.
God, I missed it again!
Yeah, you missed the 2015 GeekWire Summit where Phil Spencer was talking. Head of Xbox. They asked him point blank about the competition with the PS4, and his response was he doesn't know if the Xbox One can overtake the PlayStation 4's lead.
There you go. I mean, technically, it can.
Yeah.
You know, it's possible.
It is certainly possible. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's been something they've been beating their head against for a long time, or at least like it's always seemed that way. I've definitely had some Microsoft people ask me questions about Sony.
Yeah, well, they've been banging that drum about, Sony has no first-party games in Q4. We've got all this. We've got Forza, and there's a couple of more. The Tomb Raider.
But have they been saying that Sony doesn't have the games?
They were saying it at Gamescom anyway.
Okay,
that was like the line.
Yeah,
that they were like banging over and over again. But like that PS4 price drop is going to kick them.
Yeah. I mean, that seemed... I actually didn't... Oh, sorry. That's actually something I totally fucking missed, is they cut the PS4 price on the 9th to $349.
Yeah, so $50 off.
Yeah, $50 off. It's $20 in Canada. $20 Canadian dollars. I don't know what that means. And this matches the price cut they announced at TGS for the Japanese market.
Bundled with either Nathan Drake Collection or Battlefront?
I believe, yes, they are selling bundles for both of those.
Yeah.
I think the bundle pricing may be different depending on what you're getting. There are some models that have a bigger hard drive.
I think there's a slew of other SKUs, but
yes,
I think those
totally.
are the $349.
Those are the I believe you are correct.
Of course, Battlefront doesn't come out until Battlefront comes out.
Yeah.
Are those digital bundles, or will they have software? And
probably depends on where you buy it, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Probably digital bundles, but who knows? Yeah, it's been interesting watching the two consoles maneuver their way through these past couple of years. And, I think that this is probably a smart... Like, there are definitely some people that, the people that have all bought into the fucking fanboy end of this bullshit are, of course... Like, oh, they're giving up! Dude! I'm like, no, you jackass! So it was actually an interesting talk. It's on YouTube. You can track down his interview there. But it's the way he frames it, and you would frame it this way, is that they are focused on doing what they do and less focused on what Sony is doing. Which, to hear you say that at Gamescom they were very much beating the fuck Sony drum. Yeah. When that didn't work, that was probably all right, look, guys.
Saturn sucks.
Stop this. Yeah, writing Saturn sucks on a whiteboard does not make a difference. So, he talks about, being more focused on the team at hand and, like, straight up, like, reversing the damage of the previous regime. Like, making good on all the fucking shit that they got wrong at launch and just the messaging and all that stuff. Like, you think about how crazy that was. That, like, the biggest thing that... The biggest factor in console sales this generation was that Microsoft originally planned to, like, not allow you to use used games and always be online. Stuff that, like, was such a poisonous message that Sony was able to capitalize on it immediately, even as Microsoft was walking back on it.
Yeah. That was one of the craziest things I've ever seen at E3 is like that Sony press conference where they really went, like the one with the Adam video with the lending the games and stuff.
Yeah.
But I still remember like 6 months later being in an Uber or something and talking to the driver. He's like, oh yeah, that Xbox is coming out. That's the one where you can't play used games on it, right? And it's like months after they had said.
There's stuff in this interview where where Spencer is kind of saying the same thing. He's like, look, you get one shot at this, and if someone internalizes your brand the wrong way, like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, the die was cast on
that. Wasn't the wrong way, by the way. That's the right... Like, that's what they said.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, you're right.
That's the crazy part. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
Like, how they got on stage and said those things. And no one thought, like, this is gonna sink us.
Just
what are you doing?
Well, so that was... I mean, that's the again, he's making good for things that the previous regime held very near and dear to kind of their vision for a connected home, for a set-top box, for a TV player that also played games. Like, you think about the way that console was structured and the way the dashboard looks. It's very focused on, the thing is a extra HDMI port so you can fucking watch TV through it.
Yeah.
Like, what? Fucking what? like you don't need that. No one needed that. And maybe my problem with some of the new dashboard stuff is that it still is leaning in that direction because it has all that stuff. Like they have to serve all masters.
Yeah,
that was the whole basis of the name. It's like the Xbox One, like one input, like this is your entertainment center thing.
Yeah,
like that's how hard they were going.
Well, everyone knows that's the end game of like all of this, of like Steam boxes, of like Amazon, like everyone making like Apple TV. Like everyone knows that in like 20 years' time, we're probably going to have, or 10 years' time, less, we're going to have somebody who nails that like one and all. Right, there it is. That's the one thing, but they pushed into it in such a hubris.
They forced it before the world was ready for that, and I feel like that's been borne out over the past couple of years. When you look at like Sony's stuff is not immune to this, but like the slow speed of downloads on consoles, the increasing size of games, ISPs looking into bringing back the old metered approach, or rather the bandwidth cap approach, and suddenly you're downloading 60 gigs of Halo 5 or whatever it is. Or
Mortal Kombat,
right? Yeah, just re-downloading Mortal Kombat 9 different times. I guess that was the PC version, different situation. But suddenly those bandwidth caps, if they were enforced by companies like Comcast, are a real problem.
Totally changed the game,
and a real problem not just for the consumers that have to then pay overages or deal with being capped or on speeds or whatever it is, but the people that are all trying to sell you different digital content suffer as well. And that's I feel like at some point like that situation has to get worked out, because if there are hard caps on transfers in broadband internet in this country, like we're never going to get there.
Yeah, because it assigns a value to like that object based on its size. Like exactly. I heard on the Beastcast last week that the dude who's up in Nova Scotia or wherever, has to like throttle what he wants to download because he's got this crazy internet on.
Yeah, or like and that's how it is in places like Australia and stuff like that. Like parts of the world that are significant in the console buying space don't always have the internet to back up the way that companies wish you would buy all your games. And I think the Play, like Sony's Play was not that different in the grand scheme of things. It was still very much like, well, we're going to take our soft approach to eliminating used games. We're going to have all our digital games on day one, and hopefully we'll be able to have some movement on the price and stuff like that, which they still haven't been able to do because retail is still a factor.
Yeah.
Like those retail relationships still have to be protected because they still sell a lot of physical games. So they can't go and say like, fuck it, this game's $8 today only. Like they can't be Steam yet until retail goes away. But retail can't go away until bandwidth is better. Bandwidth can't be better until someone presses on the internet providers to say this is a fucked way to offer your services and you need to change it, or offer a tier that doesn't have it and enough people need to sign up for that. Or there's such a domino. Like all these dominoes are not connected up in an ideal way. There's no one thing you can push to say, all right, let's get going on this digital future. Because everything is fucking scattered still. But like at the end of the day, I don't think Sony wants you getting used games any more than Microsoft ever did. They just, also were smart enough to not go down that road.
Yeah, well, they seem to understand that, like, the weird thing with Microsoft back then, and it kind of made me step back and wonder, especially, like, working for a site like GameSpot, which is, like, the audiences are so different. It's more of a... You were more in touch with the fact that video game is becoming more and more mainstream. It is becoming, like, music and film and all that sort of stuff.
It's like, people are Googling a video game name and ending up there, stuff like that.
It is like the biggest like video component on YouTube, and like Twitch has got all this stuff. Right? Like people are playing games across demographics and age ranges and everything. But like the thing that I think Microsoft forgot at that time was that it's eventually there's that trickle down, but it's still an industry entirely based around enthusiasts.
Right.
And when the enthusiasts didn't bite down on that pill and started almost like the enthusiast crowd almost projected out the poisonous message.
Totally.
Like they sort of translated
They absolutely...
That's who's in the audience.
Yeah, they absolutely got out there and said, hey guys, this thing's fucked. Like all of their early adopters were like, wait, no, this is absolutely not the console that we want. This is not the structure we want for these games to get to us. And once those people were sunk, it's like you had people that were, and again, the talk on the GeekWire YouTube channel is worth looking at. Like he frames it as just like, look, you had people that had like fucking Xbox tattoos that were coming up feeling burned. It's just like the diehards in the the foot soldiers in the console war.
Those were over 100,000 gamer points.
Right, yeah. That's me, man. Now I'm all about trophies. I'm not even about trophies. I'm about nothing. yeah, it's fascinating to think about how we got to this point. And meanwhile, Don Matrick's off doing God knows what.
Yeah.
Is he still at Zynga?
No, he got fired from there, didn't he?
Yeah.
Or he left.
Helicoptered out of there. I don't know.
Fulton.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just like, it's crazy to think that, like, just the right people were in the right place at the right time to make these decisions, and then it was too late. It was too late. There's too many people that, like, didn't necessarily, I don't know. They must have had the data. They're fucking Microsoft. They must have had data that said one way or the other that this thing will work or not. Because if they're just all like, well, we all live in Seattle, internet's pretty good here, dude. I don't know. Like, then fuck. Like, that seems like a very costly mistake to make. Yeah, that'll be something, there'll be books written about that stuff, about the power of the Xbox 360 and how Microsoft put it to everyone else in that generation and fucking took over, and then just as easily fucking gave it away.
Yeah.
And all Sony had to do was stand there and have the right message in the right place. All Sony had to do was be smart about what they said, when they said it, and have the right story to tell, because they didn't have the games.
Yeah,
they still don't.
Not at all.
They still don't. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. But anyway, that talk is worth looking at. Like, go beyond the sound bites on that one. Everyone's just taking it as just like, it doesn't know if he can catch up to Sony. That's like,
why do we keep letting that guy in the podcast studio? Get him out of here.
Can you imagine how much better like YouTube comments would be if instead of text it was like forced audio recording?
It's all that voice. That's all I can ever hear.
It sounds like.
Because then you know that the stupid jerk that was saying XYZ was some 12-year-old kid or some fucking 40-year-old loser.
Yeah, when it is some like 14-year-old boy saying, "Go make me a sandwich," like, it loses a lot of the fucking punch. You're just like, I'm gonna hold you down and beat the shit out of you, kid. And also their like photo ID and address should be right next to it, right?
Yeah.
Social Security.
Yeah. That's the privatized Social Security. We'll get there, and where it'll go. Final story.